Hi everyone, good morning. I hope everyone practiced this correlation yesterday, right? Do you have any doubts? If you have any doubts, I will explain you once again. Please let me know. Otherwise, I'll go to the next topic.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello,
Yes.
sir. Sir, this is Sai Kumar.
Sai Kumar, yes, tell me.
సార్ లాస్ట్ డే మేము ప్రాక్టీస్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు కొన్ని బ్లేజ్ మీటర్ లో కొన్ని స్టెప్స్ అనేవి దీంట్లోకి రావట్లేదు సార్. రికార్డ్స్ సరిగ్గా అవ్వట్లేదు, ఏంటని అర్థం అవట్లా.
Blaze meter,
Like-
every step will come. What step is missing for you? Every step will come.
ఐ థింక్ నేను 6 స్టెప్స్ ట్రై చేశాను సార్. ఇమేజ్ గురించి అని చెప్పేసి సర్చింగ్ ఇమేజ్ అని చెప్పేసి దాంట్లో త్రీ స్టెప్స్ మాత్రమే వచ్చినాయి. నేను 2 సిస్టమ్ లో ట్రై చేస్తాను, నా దాంట్లో వేరే దాంట్లో కూడా సేమ్ అలాగే వస్తుంది.
Which website is it? Is
జస్ట్ గూగుల్ ట్రై చేస్తాను సార్. గూగుల్లో జస్ట్ సెర్చ్ ఫర్ ఇమేజ్ అని హైదరాబాద్ చార్మినార్ ఇమేజ్ అని చెప్పేసి కొట్టాను అంతే.
no. Okay. See, let us try applications. Take any application like IRCTC or
Okay.
whatever I'm saying, performancetestingpractice.com. These are web applications. Let's not try images, okay?
Okay. Got it.
You never test for any images in your projects, okay? We'll test only for applications.
Okay. Now I got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. Okay, so yesterday I was talking about correlation, right? So today I will talk about parameterization, okay? So you know how we do this correlation and all, right? How to capture session IDs, how to pass the session IDs. What are these session IDs? What will happen if we don't capture these session IDs and all? So
Sir,
now
ఒక్కసారి
yes.
డెవలపర్ టూల్స్ వాడి మనం చేసాం కదా కోరిలేషన్, అది ఒక్కసారి ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయరా మళ్ళీ?
Okay. So this is our website, right? So how do you select your developer tools is to just you need to press on F12. So our developer tools will come and go to network. Here you will see something called network. So this is the network. Clear everything and see, initially you will see all will be selected. So if you refresh your page with all CSS files, JS files, PNG files, all those non-HTML resources will also get loaded. But you need only the application related, like not application related, you need only HTML resources. You don't need non-HTML resources. For that, you just need to click on doc. In Chrome, you need to click on doc. If you are doing the same thing in Firefox, you need to click on request, right? So I just clicked on doc. So only one homepage, launch page, only one request is there here, right? So what is your and you need to select on preserve logs, okay? And what is your next step? Login, right? I just clicked on login. Again, login got recorded. My next step is sign in. I will sign in with my user ID and password. Sign in got recorded, and my final step is logout. Logout also got recorded, right? And now what is the next step? You need to save all these files. In which format? In har format, right? Right click, save all as har with content, right? You just need to select this, go to your downloads, I just saved it, okay? So where did I save this? In downloads. So I'll go to downloads. See, this is my har file, okay? Till this point, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So after that, what we need to do? You need to go to this Google and just type har to JMX conversion. And this is the website, Blazemeter website. Choose the file. have chosen the file and you just need to click on convert. So this particular har file is converting to JMX file. What is the extension of Jmeter script? .jmx. And what is the extension of this developer tools requests? har. So we are converting from har to JMX. So you can download your JMX file here. That's it. And if you upload this to your Jmeter, you will see the script. Okay.
Okay, sir. I got it.
So what is our, so what I'm telling you is like, you understood the concepts of correlation, right? So here, what we are correlating here, session ID and CSRF token, right? But in your projects, not only this, you will see many other correlation things, many other server return values. What you need to correlate actually, whatever you are getting from your server. So keep this point clear actually, whatever you are getting from server, you need to correlate. Okay, you need to be clear on this. So you are not only doing correlations for session IDs and CSRF tokens, whatever you are getting from server. Are you getting user ID and password from server? Are you sending those as an inputs? You are sending user ID and password as an input, right? What else you are sending as an input? If you are doing fund transfer, for example, you are doing fund transfer script, okay? You are logging in. So user ID, password. Do you agree? These two are inputs, right? You are giving it these two as an input. And what else you are giving as an input? What else you are giving as an input for fund transfer script? From account? From account number, right?
Yes.
To account number, right? Amount, right? So all these are inputs. And what is output? What are you getting as an output? While you are doing or recording a script, you are getting session ID. And you might get CSRF token or some other token as an output. And what else you will get an output? After clicking on after selecting from account to account and giving the amount, you will click on submit, right? After fund transfer is successful, you will get a success page. There, the application will generate one ID, right? Like transaction reference number. Do you agree? After successful fund transfer, you might get this transaction reference number. So do you agree? Is this an input or output?
Output.
This is an output. So you are getting this transaction reference number from your server. You are not passing this. So you need to capture this also. Okay. So these things, whatever you are getting as an output, whatever you are getting from the server, you need to correlate. But whatever you are passing as an input, what you need to do? Whatever you are passing as an input, what you need to do? You need to parameterize, right? You need to parameterize. Okay, so you learned about correlation yesterday. Let me tell about parameterization. This is easy only. So here you are passing your user ID and password as an input, right? So in Jmeter, you have something called under config elements, you have something called CSV dataset config. So I have already opened that in this here. This is CSV dataset config, right? So here what you have? File name, file encoding, variable name, all these things, right? Let me tell you about first one, which is file name. So file name is where you will maintain these user IDs. Okay. You are going to test this fund transfer script with how many users while you are doing load test? Like 400 or 500 users, right? So you need to maintain that many usernames, right? So where do you maintain all these usernames? in an external file. So you are going to maintain those in an external file like this. See, so I have saved this particular Excel sheet in CSV format. Okay, you need to save this in CSV format, and you need to enter the list of usernames here. See how many usernames I entered here from Vamshi 4 till Vamshi 25, around 20 usernames I entered here, right? And what are these? Email IDs. Okay. And what else? If you are doing fund transfer, you need from account to account and all that, right? But since this is just performance testing practice website, so I have given user ID and I have given email ID. I can give password also, but password is same for all these users. So I don't need to give this as a parameterization. I can hard code it, right? But username is different. So I have given different usernames here. So what I am doing after giving this, I will go to the CSV dataset config and I am just clicking on browse and selecting that CSV file from here, right? book1.csv, right? I'm just selecting that. So whenever you are logging in, it will consider this particular, whenever you are running your test or whenever you are running your script, it will take the usernames from this CSV file. Okay, is it clear? So variable name, so it will take the usernames from this CSV file, right? But you need variable name to replace this in your script, right? If you don't replace this in your script, for example, what initially when you record your script, what you will see in user ID, under user ID, you will see just Vamshi 4. Okay, Vamshi, you will just see Vamshi 4 and under password, you will see 1234, right? But now you are parameterization. Now you are doing parameterization, right? So you need this variable name. You just need to declare any variable name, like how we are declaring the variable name for correlation yesterday. Dyn session ID, you are declaring Dyn session ID, right? And Dyn CSRF token, right? So the same way, you need to declare a variable name even for CSV dataset config also. Because you parameterize usernames here, I am declaring a variable name called P user ID. You can give any name here, but as I said, you need to follow some standards, performance test standards. According to that, you have to give some relevant names related to your project. Okay. So I gave P user ID. So I am replacing that P user ID. Where I am replacing that P user ID? See, under username column, under username row, I am replacing that P user ID again in the same format. See, dollar curly braces P user ID, close the curly braces. So what will happen when I run the script now? It will take the user ID from this particular sheet. It will take the first user ID from this sheet. What is the first user ID here?
Vamshi 4.
Vamshi 4. So it will take that first user ID. But here you can see, ignore first line as true. If you give false here, by default, it will be false. You need to select true. The reason behind that is if you don't select true, if you make it this false, what will happen is it will pick the first user ID as username. Okay, this is not valid, right? So you just gave username and email ID as your menu. And below that, you have this actual usernames and actual email IDs, right? Correct? So the same way you need to, that is why you are ignoring this first line. That is why I'm selecting it as true, so that it will ignore this first row and it will select the usernames from the second row. So it will pick Vamshi 4 first. Okay, it will pick Vamshi 4 and it will go here. And when sign in is coming, it will, since you replaced it with dollar curly braces P user ID, it will take Vamshi4 directly. It will log in with Vamshi4. So when you are running your test with 20 users, what will happen? It will pick all these users at once. It will run with Vamshi4, it will run with Vamshi5, it will run with Vamshi6 at the same time. So under thread group, see, I have given 22 users, right? And ramp up 66. And you never select this option, okay? Same user on each iteration, you should not select. You should uncheck this, and you have to check this, and you have to give duration here, right? What will be our load test duration? 1 hour. So you can give 3600 seconds here. So I just gave 300 seconds. Just I'm running this for 5 minutes, okay? And with how many users? 22 users. That means
22 users.
it will pick all the users from this particular sheet. How many users are there? 22 users. So it will pick all the 22 users from this sheet. So that is how we will run our actual load tests. You understood now, right? So that is the main advantage of parameterization. If you don't have parameterization, you cannot log in with different users. Okay. So now this is CSV dataset config is one type of parameterization which you will do for mostly for user IDs. And the values which are changing, right? Account numbers, from account number to account number, these values are changing every time, right? When you are running your load test, these values should change, right? But there are some values which doesn't change, which are constant. What are those things? Can anyone tell me? What doesn't change in you when you are running? Sorry? What doesn't change when you run your script? URL, right? Does URL change? URL will never change, right? So there is no point in giving URL here, right? See, you can give URL here, but it will be same for all these rows, right? Instead of giving the same URL every time in CSV, in the CSV file, what you have is something called user-defined variables. So what is this what is the use of this user-defined variables is, it is also used for parameterization, but you can give the values which never changes. For example, URL doesn't change. So you can give URL, you can declare the variable name as p URL, and I have given the URL name here. See, I gave the entire URL name in the value section. Okay, so now I can go to the actual request and replace my URL with again $ curly braces p URL, close the curly braces. You understood, right? And what else doesn't change? This port number. And you can also declare this port number here, right? P port. And what you have to give here? 443, right? And what else doesn't change? I will say P protocol. What is our protocol? HTTPS. So all these things will never change, right? So how will I replace this port number in my script? So wherever you have 443, it should be replaced, right? So I will just select. So I will just say Control F. I will give 443 here, and I'll have to replace it by P port, right? And I will say replace all. See, wherever you see port number, it will replace it by $P port. See, P port. So it will give you in red color so that you can identify where it exactly replaced. See, it replaced here, it replaced here, it replaced here. So wherever there is this port number, it replaces that. Okay. And what else you need to replace? Protocol, right? So give HTTPS, and here what you need to give? P protocol. And this will replace all the HTTPS parts. Wherever you see HTTPS, it will be replaced automatically, right? You got it, right? So this is the advantage of user-defined variables. And so you have explained you two things. One is under config elements, CSV dataset config, and another one is user-defined variable. CSV dataset config is used for multiple values to parameterize the multiple values, but user-defined variables is used to parameterize the value which is not changing, like URL, port number, protocols, and all that, right? Okay. So now you have done correlation. Correlation is completed. Parameterization is completed. What is your next step? What is your next step? Your next step, your script is working perfectly, right? Now, the script is working perfectly. And what is your next step? Your next step is to run your load test, right? And how many users you have here? 22 users. And let us try to run our load test with 22 users, okay? So as I said before, I gave 22 users, 22 threads here, and my ramp up will always be one user for every 3 seconds, right? So that is why I gave 22 into 3, 66. And the thread lifetime I gave 300 seconds, which is only 5 minutes. So I'm just running it for 5 minutes. Okay, let me run. And you see how it is running, right? It is not stopping because we are running with 22 users for about 5 minutes. So until 5 minutes, it will run like this. But here there is a problem. You are running a load test, but how do you find out the results? See, while you are running the load test, so here what exactly are you running? Launch, login, sign in, and log out, right? So you are running load test for launch, login, sign in, and log out, right? And you are seeing the results here. And you are running this with how many users? 22 users, right? But here the target of your load test is to identify or find the response times of each and every transaction. You need to see the response time of your launch page. So you need to see the response time of your launch, you need to see the response time of your login, and you need to see the response time of your sign in, you need to see the response time of your logout. How can you see the response time if it is running like this? You cannot see the response times when it is running like this, right? It is very difficult to identify the response time. For example, this is your sign in, and here you can see the sign in response time. What is the response time here? 2076. That means 2076 milliseconds. So Jmeter will give you the response times in milliseconds, right? So here the sign in is 2076 milliseconds, right? That means 2 seconds. But I will select one more sign in here. Here, what is the sign in response time? Only 594 milliseconds. I selected one more sign in. What is this? 2500 milliseconds, right? So the response times are varying because we are running with 22 users and we are generating many transactions. So by using view results tree, we cannot identify the average response time. You need average response time, right? Here there are many sign-ins, but you need the average of all those sign-ins. So to get that, you have another listener which is called aggregate report. So under listeners, you have something called aggregate report. I am selecting that. And now if you run your test, you will see a different report now. See how this is running. See how many samples it is showing currently for launch. 46, 52. It is increasing 60, right? You're able to see that, right? So I stopped it. So how many logins completed? 110 logins completed. So in view results tree, you can see all these 110 logins like this. Login page, second login page, third login page. If you scroll down, you'll see several login pages like this. But in aggregate report, what you can see, all the login pages, like how many samples happened. There are 110 logins which happened. And it will give you the response time of all these logins, average response time of all these logins here. So you can see not only for login, like launch, login, sign in, and log off, it will give you the response times of each and every transaction like this. So what is the launch page response time? 500 milliseconds. Login page response time, 171 milliseconds. Sign in response time, 500 milliseconds, right? Log off response time, 400 milliseconds. Okay. So that is how you can identify the response times in your actual Lotus. So what I want to say here is, while you're doing scripting, you have to use your view results tree, because while you're doing correlations, parameterizations, you will run your script only for one iteration, only once, right? There, you need to identify if your script is running perfectly or not. So to view that HTML page and all, you need this view results tree, right? You will see HTML page, if the HTML page is coming perfectly or not, and all that, right? So that time you need view results tree. Once your scripting is completed, while you are doing execution, you don't need view results tree that time. You only need your aggregate report, because you are running your Lotus with 22 users here for 5 minutes duration. So you need to see how many transactions are you achieving. So how many transactions are you achieving here? Like 500 plus transactions, right? And what is your response time of each and every transaction? Like 500 seconds average, 100 seconds, like, sorry, 500 milliseconds, 100 milliseconds. For sign in, it's 500 milliseconds again, like that. If you have to give this kind of report to your client, right? The response time of each and every transaction. So to view that kind of report, you need aggregate report. Okay. Any doubts till this point?
Sir, one question.
Yes, yes.
When we said that this is we have 4 transactions, right? Like launch, login, sign in, and log off.
Correct.
They run sequentially one after the other? Did we give any setting that okay, only once the 4 are done, then start the second user, or it will do that randomly?
So this will run concurrently. So your load test will run concurrently. What is the meaning of concurrency is, like I gave 22 users, and what I'm saying, 66 seconds ramp up, right? That means each user, one user will take how many seconds to ramp up? 3 seconds.
3 seconds.
Ramp up is nothing but starting with your first screen, which is launch, right?
Yeah.
So your first user will take 3 seconds to launch, right? And your second user will take again 3 seconds to launch. By the time your second user launches the screen, the first user will go to login, right?
Yeah.
By
So
the time
overlap.
Yes, by the time your third user will take 3 seconds time to launch. That means at this time it will be 6th second, right? 6th second. This will be 9th second in your test. So by the time your third user launches your screen, your first user will go to sign in, and your second user might go to login. So that is what the concurrency is. Okay. So users will do different transactions during your load test. Not all users will do the same transaction. Okay. There can be cases, because you are running this load test for 3600 seconds, that is 1 hour. There can be cases that out of 22 users, 4 to 5 users might click on same button, but not all users will click on same button. So while you are running this test with 22 users, some users will launch your screen, some users will log in, some users will do sign in, some users will log off. So that is how it will happen, right? So that is what is called concurrency. Okay. Is it clear?
Yeah. Thanks.
So, yeah. So this is all about aggregate report. Okay. So you have, under aggregate report, you need to know few things. One is this average response time. What is average response time? So it is giving you the average response time of launch, login, sign in, and log off, right? So average response time is nothing but while you are running the load test and you have launch, login, sign in, and log off. These are the 4 transactions which you have, and you are running this with how many users? 22 users, right? And you are running this for how much duration? 5 minutes. That means 22 users will run for 5 minutes, right? So 22 users will try to log in slowly with 3-second ramp up for each user, and it will do all these transactions one by one. So you would see at the end of 5 minutes, like currently around 100 transactions happen for each and every transaction, right? Within 30 seconds, right? Within 33 seconds, 100 transactions happen for each and every transaction, right? Like for within 30 seconds, if 100 transactions happen within 5 minutes, how many transactions will happen? Within 5 minutes, how many transactions will happen? Around 1000, right? So around 1000 launches will happen within 5 minutes. Around 1000 logins will happen within 5 minutes. Around 1000 sign-ins will happen within 5 minutes, and around 1000 log-offs will happen within 5 minutes, right? Understood till this point? Okay. So this aggregate report will give you the average response time of all those transactions. Here it is giving you the average response time of total 100 samples or 100 transactions. It is saying 100 launches, 115 launches happen, and the average response time of all that 115 launches is 531 seconds. That means what it is saying, out of 115 launches, the first launch might take 100 milliseconds. The second launch might take 500 milliseconds. Third launch might take 700 milliseconds. Fifth launch might take only 50 milliseconds. Sixth launch might take 400 milliseconds. Like that, it will, how many transactions? 115 transactions will happen like this. So it will take average of all these transaction response time, and that average is nothing but 500 milliseconds, right? Okay. So on a simple way, what I can say is, if
One
in
question,
your
one
load
question.
test, sorry?
Sorry, if it's a silly question, but we said that every 3 seconds there would be one transaction, right? So
Correct.
Now, for the launch, if there is one, maybe with the first user,
Correct.
then for the second user, there would be a gap of 3 seconds.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So in that case, in 33 seconds, there should be only 11 launches.
Mm-hmm. Like
How,
okay, with how many users are we running this? 22 users, right?
yeah.
22 users will launch at same time.
Okay, so that's
Okay, 22 users we are running, and one user every 3 seconds we are saying. That means within 66 seconds, all 22 users will launch the screen, right? Within
Yeah.
66 seconds.
Yeah.
That means within 1 minute, you will see 22 launches, launch transactions, right?
Yeah.
And after that, it will continuously, like, see, what you need to understand here is, first of all, first launch will happen, first user will launch within 3 seconds. And that user itself will do login, sign in. That user itself will do sign in, and that user itself will do log off. And again the same first user will again launch, and the same first user will again launch. It will go to the second iteration, right?
Yeah.
And it will quickly launch again. It will again launch. Again, it will log in and sign in, log off. Okay. And this is your second iteration. And again, the same user will go through third iteration. Okay. And the same process will happen. And the same thing will happen for your second user also. When your second user will ramp up in the 6th second, right? In the 6th second of your test, right? And the same process will happen for your second user also. And the third user will launch in your 9th second, right?
Yes.
And the same process will happen for your third user also.
Got
right?
it.
So this is how your test will happen. Okay.
Thanks.
And I'll explain you this process more clearly when I go to the elements.
Okay.
Okay. So in this class, I am giving you the overall view. That is why I am taking all the elements here. See, till now I took thread group. I took the concept of CSV dataset config and user defined variable. I took the concept of view results tree and aggregate report. I'm yet to come to the topic of timers and assertions, but I took the topic of HTTPS test script recorder, right? So I'm covering all the elements because I want to give you a project for the next 4 days. Okay, so I'm covering few basic topics which are important for you to do a quick load test for any application. So these are the elements which are needed for you to complete a quick load test for any application. Okay. So what I'm telling you here is that is what is the average response time is. Okay. But what is 90 percentile response time? So that, for example, if your response times are like this, 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, 4 second, 5 second, 6 second, 7 second, 8 second, 9 second, and 10 second. If you are seeing these response times, for example, in your test, okay, for example, you achieved only 10 transactions for your launch screen, and these are the response times you are seeing. What will be your average? What will be your average response time? It's 5.5 seconds, right? How do you calculate the average? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 divided by
10.
Yeah. So that will give you the average response time, right? That will give you the average response time. And what is the 90th percentile response time of the same transactions. Your 90th percentile response time of the same transactions is 9 seconds. Okay. How you know how to calculate the average, but what is this 90th percentile response time? What is this 90 percentile response time? Okay, so 90 percentile response time is nothing but it is the what it says is it gives you the response time in such a way that, see, in this case it is 9. That means the transactions, 90% of my transactions are performing better than 9 seconds. Do you agree? What are my transaction response time? 1 second to 10 seconds. And what is my 90th percentile? 9 seconds. That means if your 90th percentile is 9 seconds, what are you saying here is 90% of my transactions. What are your 90%? What are 90% of your transactions here? All these, right?
1 to 9.
1 to 9. So all my 90% transactions are performing within 9 seconds or less than that, but not more than that. That is what you're saying here. So you need to give to your client this 90% response times only. So that is what is recommended in performance test. As a practice or as performance test standard, you have to present 90th percentile response time only to your client, but not average response time. The reason behind that is, what does the average response time is giving you here is 5.5 seconds. That means what it is indicating is my response times are 5.5 seconds. That will indicate that almost 50% of my response times are better, but remaining 50% of my response times are more than 5.5 seconds. But what is your 90th percentile response time is giving you is 90% of my transaction response times are better or equal to 9 seconds or even better than that. Only 10% transactions are worst. That is what is giving you this 98 percentile, right? So when you are presenting your results to your clients, you have to highlight this. You have to present average response times also, but you have to highlight this 90th percentile only. This will give you the most worst case response times, right? When your 90th percentile response times are better, if your 90th percentile response times are coming around 5 seconds, which is your SLA, then your performance testing is good. It is acceptable because your 90th percentile response times indicates that what it indicates is almost 90% of my transactions, 90%, almost 90% of my transactions are within 5 seconds or even less than that. Only remaining 10% of my transactions are more than 5 seconds. So that indicates that after this particular application goes to the production, your response times, 90% of the users will be satisfied with these response times. If you give average response time, only 50 to 60% of users will only be satisfied. Remaining 40% or 50% users will get more response times. So that is not the right kind of results which you need to provide to your clients. So that is why always what is recommended is to provide 90% response time. Okay. So do you have any doubts in this? So here again,
No.
yes. So here when I come to launch, again, login, sign in and log off, how many launches are happening in my test? Around 115. So and logins same, around 120, or sign-ins around 125. So this aggregate report will calculate both average and 90 percentile response time for each and every transaction. But what you need to highlight to your clients is the 90 percentile response time, but not the average response time, because 90 percentile response time will give you the will tell you that 90% of your transactions are performing within that particular response time. Only 10% transactions are more than that particular time. Okay, you got it right. And same way we have 95th percentile, 99th percentile, these are not needed. So whatever you are going to present to your clients is only 90th percentile response time. Okay, and here again you are seeing minimum response time, maximum response time. You know what this will give, right? This is the minimum response time what you are getting out of 115 transactions. 428 milliseconds is the minimum response time what you are getting, and out of 115 transactions, 1530, that means 1.5 seconds is the maximum response time what you are seeing, right? So this is what it will give you. But major focus for you should be on the number of samples, average response time, and 90% response time, right? And it will give you error percentage. Currently there are no errors. If there are any errors, it will give you those errors, and the throughput. And what is this throughput? What is this throughput? So I think most of you are there when I was taking my first session, about the requirement performance test requirement gathering, right? NFR gathering. I will cover that session in later point for the new candidates. So I will just give you a brief of that. So in the first stage, in stage 1, what are we doing in stage 1? We are gathering NFRs, right? We are gathering NFRs. NFRs are non-functional requirements. And what do we gather as part of NFRs? Response time SLAs. All pages should be within 5 seconds time. That is one SLA. And what is another SLA? Transactions, right? You should achieve 10,000 transactions, something like this, right? You should achieve 10,000, or fund transfer, you should achieve only 1,000 transactions for fund transfer. Like that, these kind of requirements you will get, right? But here you are achieving around how many transactions you achieved? 500 transactions within how many seconds? Within 30 seconds. I stopped this test after 30 seconds. You achieved 500 within 30 seconds, 30 seconds itself, right? But according to your NFRs, you should achieve only 500 transactions. You should achieve 500. You should achieve only 500 transactions for this login logout script, if that is your requirement. But in this test, what happened? You achieved. You are seeing my screen, right? You able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So in this test, what happened? You achieved your target transactions within 30 seconds. But what is your test duration? 5 minutes. If I start running this test for 5 minutes, how many transactions will you achieve?
2,000 or 1,000 above.
1,000 above, right? So to control those transactions, what is the concept I explained you in my first class or second class? How are we controlling that transactions?
Pacing time.
Yes, by calculating pacing. What is the use of pacing? Pacing will control your transactions. Pacing is the one which you are giving between your iterations. But what is the main agenda of your pacing? What is the main goal of your pacing? It will control your transactions, and it will be helpful for you to achieve the target transactions. In here, if I continue to run this test for 5 minutes, you will achieve around 2,000 transactions or more than that. But you need to achieve only 500 transactions. So here, to control your transactions, you need something called pacing here, right? So how do you handle pacing in Jmeter is to add some timers, and that timer is called, there are many timers, precise throughput timer, constant throughput timer and all that. So I will add precise throughput timer here. And what it says is, see, target throughput period and test duration. And our test duration is, what is our test duration? 300 seconds, right? 5 minutes. Okay. And my throughput duration will also be the same, because I need to achieve how much throughput I need to achieve within 5 minutes. What is my target? 500, right? So my target throughput is 500. I have to achieve 500 within 5 minutes. That's what I am giving here. Now, if I start running this test now, see what will happen. See, are you observing the pace with which it went in previous run? All the launch, login, sign in and log off pages are happening really quick previously, and now see, it is, all the transactions are running really slow, right? Have you observed that previously it is running really quick? Like it crossed 30 seconds now. Previously within 30 seconds, how many we achieved? How many we achieved?
115.
500 total, like for one transaction, 115. But now for one transaction only 17 or 18 we achieved. And total is 50 as of now. Because we are trying to control our transactions using this precise throughput timer. Got it? Why are we giving this precise throughput timer in our test? Because in our NFRs, there can be targets. They will give us, according to our requirements, we need to achieve our number of transactions. According to my requirement, I have to achieve only 500 transactions for this login logout script. Not more than that, within 5 minutes. 500 transactions in 5 minutes. So that is why I am giving this kind of setting. What I gave? 500 in 5 minutes duration. Throughput is 5 minutes and my test duration is also 5 minutes. Okay. I will take scenario of my project. So in my project, we have a tool called New Relic. See, in performance testing, no one will give you a requirements. No one will give you any requirements because people don't know what is performance testing. We are the only experts. So as part of performance testing, what is our target? Our target is to achieve right response times. Okay. And our target is to achieve production users. How many users are there in production between 9 AM and 10 AM? We have to take that number of users only we need to test. And what else? What is our next target? Is to achieve production transactions in 1 hour. That is between, again, 9 AM and 10 AM, right? So in our project, we have a tool called New Relic, which is deployed in production. In that tool, we don't need to take, there is a separate team who can give us the production stats from that tool. So they gave me some graph, and in that graph, it is saying that there are 1,500 transactions are happening within 1 minute. 1,500 transactions are happening in 1 minute. Okay. I am doing this project for a banking application for an African bank. So which we do, where we do testing for different countries like Ghana, Mauritius, okay, Mozambique, okay, Seychelles. So these are the countries, right? These are the African countries. So like this, Botswana. So these are the African countries, right? So I am doing, so each and every country has their own internet banking application. So I am doing performance testing for all these countries at once. Okay, at once. So I will give separate thread groups for each and every country. A separate thread group for Ghana, separate thread group for Mauritius, separate thread group for Mozambique, separate thread group for Seychelles. And under Ghana thread group, what I will add? Fund transfer and bill payment scenario. Under Mauritius thread group, what I will add? Fund transfer and bill payment scenario. So same way for remaining countries also, I'll add the same thing: fund transfer, bill payment, login, logout, and checking balance. So all these transactions will be there for each and every thread group. One thread group indicates one country. Okay. So what it is saying in this Neuralink stats is there are 1500 transactions in 1 minute. That means all these countries are achieving 1500 transactions in a minute, right? All these countries are achieving 1500 transactions in a minute. So what I have to do now? Go to precise throughput timer. What I need to give? I need to give 1500 here, right? And what is my throughput period here? 60. Good. 60. Because 1500 transactions are achieving within 1 minute, right? And I am doing a load test here. So what is my test duration? 3606. So you got it, right? So the remaining thing, Jmeter will take care of the remaining things. So we are just defining a target for Jmeter. We are asking Jmeter to achieve 1500 transactions in 60 seconds. And we are defining test duration as 3600 seconds. So based on these settings, our Jmeter will achieve the target 1500 transactions in a minute. That means within 1 hour, how much it will achieve? 1500 into 60. So it has to achieve 90,000 transactions for all these countries. And there are 10 countries, right? Per country, how much it need to achieve? 9,000 transactions per country, right? So it will take care of everything. You just need to define this precise throughput timer. Got it? Fine. Okay, this is till this point. I will stop and I will give you a task. Okay, I'll have to tell you one more thing, which is think time. I explained you about user think time also, right? Whatever we gave till now is pacing. Precise throughput timer is something related to pacing, but we need to give user think time as well, right? Think time also we need to give. So how do you give think time? Add timer constant time. So I'm giving 3000 seconds. That means before clicking on launch, it will wait for how many seconds? 3 seconds. This is 3000 milliseconds. And if you give think time everywhere, so I'm giving think time here also. I'm giving 3000. So before clicking on login, it will wait for 3 seconds again. So the same way you can give this think time to this login, it will sign in and log off also. So what is happening? We are giving think time because in real time also users will wait for some time to do transactions, right? So that think time we need to replicate here. So we are replicating like this. So this is what the constant timer does. The constant timer is used for, it will give a pause between each and every transaction. And what is precise throughput timer? Is something related to pacing. If we give this, we can control the number of target transactions so that we will achieve our target transactions using this precise throughput timer. Okay. So these are the basic things for you to start with a basic Jmeter test. Okay. I will give you a task for the next 4 days. But once I come back from Monday, I will take you through each and every element. Okay. Each and every element in the sense, I'll start with this thread groups. what are config elements. I covered CSV dataset config user defined variables, but there are few other important things which I need to cover here. Even for listeners, I covered view results tree and aggregate report, but I will cover again in detail what are the other uses of aggregate report, what else we can do with view results tree, okay, and what is summary report, what are backend listeners, aggregate graph, and all this. See, we can also integrate, we can also download some jar files and integrate with Jmeter, and we can add few more graphs which you currently you don't see these graphs in your current Jmeter. If you open this listener, you don't see these 4 graphs. So how to get these 4 graphs? Because these 4 graphs are very, very important when you are doing your load tests or endurance tests. So how to get these graphs and all, and what are the uses of these graphs? Everything I'll explain you in detail when I go to this each and every element topic. I'll start that from Monday. But for now, this is the basic Jmeter script. So I'll give you a task now. So you have this performancetestingpractice.com website, right? So you have something called register. Okay. Using this register form, you register your users. Okay. You know how to register, right? The basic registration. I want you to register around 30 users. I want you to register around 30 users. How do you register 30 users, by the way? Are you going to register it manually? If that is your answer, don't register manually.
By passing parameterization.
Correct. So create a script for registration. Create a script for registration. Do first registration while doing the registration, record your script. Okay. And you know what exactly you need. You need to change from second registration onwards, right? You need to change the first name and last name. Right? You need to change the first name and last name for second registration, right? You need to change the email ID for second registration, right? So all these things, what you need to do, you need to parameterize. You know how to parameterize, right? You have to parameterize using CSV dataset config, right? So what you need to give here in CSV dataset config, first name as 1 column, last name as 1 column, email ID as 3rd column in that CSV file. And you need to browse that CSV file here, and variable names, if there are 3 columns, there are 3 variable names, right? First name, comma, last name, comma, email, right? You can give this with comma. You can enter any number of variable names here by using comma as a delimiter, okay? And you can replace wherever you need in the script. So the first name indicates your first column in your CSV file, and the last name indicates the last column, second column in your CSV file, and email indicates the 3rd column in your CSV file, right? Like that, you record a script, and using that script, you generate all the users by running the script. I want you to automate this using the script. I want you to register all these users using the script, not manually. Okay, so what you do, you record your script and run this script for 30 iterations. That means once you record your script, just give like this: 1 user, ramp up 1, and give 30 here. So what will happen if you give 30? This particular script will run for 30 iterations, 1 by 1, and it will generate, and it will register how many users? It will register 30 users, right? Are you getting me? Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
So just automate this, only create the script and register. While registering, record your script and parameterize the required things. And wherever the correlations are there, do correlation. I don't think for registration there will be any correlation. There won't be any correlations. And run this script like this. Give the same settings. don't give 30 here. Since you are creating 30 users, don't give 30 in the number of users. If you give 30 here, what will happen? All 30 users will try to, it will try to register 30 at the same time. So that is not the right way. So you are creating test data here. You are not running a load test. You are just registering number of users using your script. So give one user, ramp up as 1, and give 30 here, so that it will take each and every user like first name, last name, and email ID from your CSV file. One by one, it will take one by one. There should be 30 rows in your CSV file, so that it will take all 30 iterations one by one. Okay, and never select this option. Okay, this should be unchecked. Yeah, Uday.
So for registration, during registration, we don't enter the number of users that we are trying to create in number of threads. But when user logins, in number of threads, we enter how many users. If you are trying to log in,
Exactly.
we enter as 100, right?
Exactly. Because registration, why you are doing this registration? You are doing this registration to create number of users, so that later point you can run with 30 users in your load test using login logout script, right?
Yes, yes.
So your first task is registration script. Okay, here give one user, ramp up also 1 second, and iterations 30.
Okay.
So with this, you will register your
30
users.
users.
30 users will get registered. And you have to give, don't forget that you have to give CSV dataset config, and inside CSV, how many rows should be there? 30 rows and 3 columns. 30 rows and 3 columns. 3 columns means first column, first name, second column, last name, third column, email ID.
Email.
Right?
And
So,
confirm email also, we can use the same variable.
same, right? Same, right? That you figure it out. Okay. I'm just
Yes.
giving you few clues. That's it. Okay?
Yeah.
That is for registration script. So that is your first task. And after registration, you have 30 users now. Now create a not only login logout script, create a script like this. So you just log in. Okay. After logging in, you will enter this to this screen, and here under my account section, you go to add customer. Okay.
Okay.
Add customer, and you have to fill these details and add the customer. After adding the customer, you have to delete the same customer. After adding the customer will get added like this, right? And your next step is to delete the customer, so that you'll see this one row is deleted successfully, and after that log out. Okay, so what is your next task? Launch, login, sign in, add customer, fill details, and add. Okay, this is add customer menu. Okay, this is add customer menu. Fill details and add, and after that delete the added customer and log off. Okay, so you have to complete this script below. So this is your second task. And your third task, run the above script. Run the above script with 30 users. Okay, run the above script with 30 users for 10 minutes duration. Okay. For 10 minutes duration. And your target is to achieve your target is to achieve 3000 transactions overall. Okay, got it? Maybe 2000. Okay, not 3000. Yeah, 2000 transactions overall. Or you can make it 1000 also. Okay, make it 2000, no problem. So these are the three tasks. So here, while you are completing your script, you know how to give all these things. I need transaction. I'm not specifying every task here. I need transaction controls to be added, and you need to select this checkbox. Okay. And I want you to add think time. Okay. I want you to add precise throughput timer, and you have to achieve 2000 transactions with these 30 users. Okay. So these are your 3 tasks. Complete this and let us meet on Monday. Okay then. Right. Bye.